everyone. My name is Mitchell, and I'm your host from Canadian Geographic Education for today's presentation as a part of our 2026 Adoptaship Program partnered with the Canadian Coast Guard. And today will be our final presentation of this year's Adoptaship Program with the new Commissioner of the Canadian Coast Guard. We're excited to be back for our 6th year of this amazing program that brings you behind the scenes for a deeper look at careers and educational opportunities within the Canadian Coast Guard by meeting some of the amazing people that make it all happen. So for all of our teachers tuning in, welcome and thank you for being a part of this amazing program. And feel free to connect with us in the comments and below to share any questions that you may have for our presenters. Now, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our special guest for today, Commissioner Kevin Brosseau. Commissioner Kevin Brosseau is the head of the Canadian Coast Guard, a Harvard-educated lawyer who spent over 20 years serving with the RCMP and other Government of Canada roles before advising the Prime Minister on national security. Under his leadership, the CCG works to keep Canada's waters safe from emergency response and environmental protection to icebreaking and search and rescue efforts across the world's largest coastline. So, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. I've heard a lot about the Adopt-A-Ship program, and I've only been the commissioner of the Coast Guard for about 3 months now, but this has a long history, and I was really excited to be able to participate in this really interesting event today and get to meet some people and tell the story of the Canadian Coast Guard.
Yeah, well, we're all very happy to have you here, and it's great to meet you and have a chance for you to meet some of the classes that have been with us since the beginning of the school year. So
awesome. Well, it's June. It's getting close to the end of the school year, if I remember right.
Yep, it's almost summer break for a lot of these teachers, so I'm sure the students are pretty excited about that. So I guess to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be the commissioner today?
Yeah, for sure. Look, did I ever think I'd be the commissioner of the Canadian Coast Guard? No, but I grew up on a cattle ranch in northern Alberta, youngest of 7. Like most young people, played a little sports, studied really hard, went to university, became a member of the RCMP, and traveled the country and really around the world in that role. Was fortunate enough as well to go to law school, practice law in the U.S. For a bit, and then had some other senior government jobs where I had exposure to safety issues, like you see that the Canadian Coast Guard, of course, is responsible for, but other cool jobs like at Fisheries and Oceans that were really concerned about water and fish in the waters. So I've had a lot of fun along the way, and it's been really interesting. My wife and I and our son live in Ottawa, and we've lived here since 2016, and now call Ottawa home.
That's amazing. Yeah, and so I guess just starting out in your new role, in your opinion or in your view, what exactly does the Canadian Coast Guard do, and why do you think it's so important for Canada?
It's a really interesting question, and I think that you talked a little bit about it at the beginning, because of course these beautiful red and white big ships and small boats all over the country, on coast to coast to coast, as well as in inland waters, such as on Lake Winnipeg, where I lived for a while. So the Coast Guard has the primary roles around search and rescue, as you would expect, if a vessel is in distress or a person goes overboard on a ship or a boat. So there's a really important role with respect to search and rescue and ensuring maritime or marine safety in marinas and on the oceans and in the St. Lawrence. Also, because of course the Coast Guard plays a big role in the Arctic, icebreaking is a very important role of the Coast Guard. We have a number of different specialized vessels or big ships. That's what they're built for, is to break ice, and is to, permit supplies to go into communities, and then along the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence, in order that goods and ships can travel the St. Lawrence when there's ice, and they can go to market, to go from Thunder Bay all the way through to the Atlantic Ocean. So a bunch of really interesting mandates or roles, and what we do. About 7,000 employees across the country that do that every day. And I guess just quickly, just new is that we're now transitioned as being part of national defense. That doesn't mean that we're the Army or the Navy. It just means really that we're closer, we're in alignment, or close friends or cousins, if you will, of national defense and the Army and the Navy, etc. And under the Minister of National Defense. So that's moved from Fisheries and Oceans over to National Defense. That's just started. It's pretty exciting. We can now Canadian Coast Guard boats or ships can work and train and exercise with Navy, the Royal Canadian Navy ships, just to really expand our reach, to give us more opportunities for interesting training, and to be, the term we use a lot is called interoperable, and all that means is that we're kind of side by side in carrying out various roles in either on either coast.
Wow. So needless to say, you cover a few things in the role and with the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
So I guess in your short time so far, what has a typical day looked like for you as the commissioner?
It's a really good question, because I don't know if I have a typical day so far. That's the really interesting part about being the commissioner of the Canadian Coast Guard today, is that every day is different. Today, I spoke at there was a Chamber of Commerce meeting this morning for the city of Ottawa, where a number of industry players were there. So I was speaking to them about the need to invest in the Canadian Coast Guard and to build up our capacity. It's generally the case that I have a lot of meetings with different staff, but I also spend a lot of time outside of Ottawa and around the country. So earlier last week, I was in Sydney, Nova Scotia at the Coast Guard Academy, where a graduation happened, and I was there to usher in and congratulate 58 new graduates into the Canadian Coast Guard, and they came from all real wide variety of backgrounds from all over the country. It was really, really exciting. 2 weeks ago, I was in Singapore representing the Coast Guard and meeting with Coast Guards from around the world to talk about how we learn from each other, how we can get a better equipment, and different things like that. So my days can really change depending on kind of what's on my plate, and that's been the fun part of this job so far.
Wow. Yeah, and I bet there's a lot to learn going into a role like that. So, and I'm sure meeting with people from around the world teaches you a lot as well, considering Canada has one of the largest coastlines in the world. And
Yeah.
what are some of the biggest challenges that Canada specifically faces with that?
It's a great question, Mitchell. Over 250,000 kilometers of coastline Canada has. Pretty much the biggest coast, or the most coast, of any other country in the world. And when I meet with people from around the world, other countries and coast guards, they're really interested in how do we manage to protect all of that coast when it's in the far north and we need to break ice for half of the year to be able to supply those communities and villages and towns with their years of supply, all the way through to Victoria, British Columbia, and a bustling port, and places like Halifax and St. John's. So some of the real challenges about dealing with the amount of coast that we have is actually being able to cover it with the vessels that we have, and being present, so that when somebody does call for help, that we're able to get there and help them. So that's for sure a big challenge. Weather is always a challenge in Canada, but it makes it really exciting at the same time. And we've had to adapt and do different things to make sure that ultimately we have a presence on either coast.
Yeah, the sheer scope of just Canada's coastline makes that difficult, I'm sure, but having your presence everywhere is very important for sure.
Yeah, it was fascinating when I talked to the Singapore Coast Guard, because they said, well, that's pretty easy. They basically are just a small island, smaller than Vancouver Island. So a bit easier to patrol than our coast in many cases, where there's no people, very, very remote, as I said, all the way to big international ports like we see in Vancouver, Montreal, and others.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess if one of our students watching today wanted to work for the Canadian Coast Guard one day, what kind of paths would they take? You mentioned the Coast Guard Academy, and what kind of advice would you give to them?
I think there are so many interesting careers and paths that a person could take to join the Coast Guard. Whether a person's interested to be an engineer and work in the engine room, to be a navigator, a captain, so somebody on the bridge, or more technical. There are a lot of different paths. So outside of the ships themselves, we have communication specialists that work radar systems in various places around the country. So a lot of different like technical jobs. There's office jobs. There's on ship, off ship, many different career paths. I always suggest going on, Google the Canadian Coast Guard, go on our website and check it out. And really the fundamentals are, be involved if you're interested in public service. It's always super interesting to think about how you can contribute. A lot of people that I talked to last week at the graduation had done cadets, were involved in cadets or other clubs like Girl Scout or Girl Guides, Boy Scouts, different things like that. I'm dating myself, but some involvement in the community. You need to have really good grades. So, the other advice I give is stay in school, think about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's called STEM. That tends to give you the educational background you need. But you don't have to be a pure mariner or somebody that is only interested in being on the water. It doesn't help to be able to swim and to enjoy water, because of course we are the Coast Guard. But to me, I think if it's about attitude and interest and wanting to make this country better and to help people, then if you're interested in that, then we've got a job for you.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that comes up a lot from students. And I think the other biggest kind of questions and comments that we get from students is a lot about environment and marine life. Everyone's always very interested in what kind of marine life everyone has seen while working for the Coast Guard. So what kind of things does the Coast Guard do to protect environment and marine life, along with protecting sovereignty and things like that?
Right. In fact, I think that when I think about the core, the role of the Coast Guard is really to protect the environment. Whether that's in oil spills, or if there's a fire on a yacht or a boat, that we go and we don't put it out necessarily, but we help contain any pollution that might come from there. The other really interesting thing, and a lot of people don't know this, is our ships go all over in the north and on all coasts or in lakes, and scientists are on board to do scientific experiments in water and with fish and plant life to see, how are they doing? Are they being impacted by climate change? Is the water warming? Is it cooling? What is the state of various stocks? So that's really interesting. Hundreds of scientists from around the world are on Coast Guard vessels at any given time, doing really cool experiments to ensure that we're not harming the fish, water, and sea vegetation, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, the Coast Guard's really fundamental, and I know I really care about the environment. My family sure does, and with all the talk about pipelines and additional mining activity, et cetera, that's going on in the country, the Coast Guard's got a really important role to play to make sure that climate change and environment, I think of the North, aren't negatively impacting our fish and water and coastlines.
Yeah, one, especially when most of those places are very hard to get to, but the Coast Guard is one of those organizations that definitely is able to get almost anywhere in the country to go do those kind of tests.
Yeah, that's right. And it goes, Mitchell, a little bit to your other question around, what about a path in the Coast Guard? Like, it's a kind of place, and I don't want. It's not like I'm trying not to be a salesman, but if you care and you really want to make a difference, whether it's helping people or saving the environment or saving the planet, the Coast Guard has a really important role there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I think the free college kind of sells itself, so you don't have to do that.
Yeah, 4 years, and you get the college in Sydney, Nova Scotia is beautiful, and Cape Breton, right on the water. Like I said, I was there. We went for a helicopter ride. We got out on some of our search and rescue vessels, and 4-year education. You come out with an engineering degree or a navigation degree. You live. It's basically rent free. It's not completely free, but an amazing food. I ate in the galley. They call it the galley, not the cafeteria, and it was amazing. Really, really good. So I was like, geez, I wish I'd have gone here.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, is there anything else kind of about the Coast Guard that would surprise most Canadians, or even some of the students that are kind of watching us today?
Yeah, I think probably you wouldn't necessarily know of the thing I talked about around science, but the Coast Guard has over 100 big ships, and they go all the way from those big icebreakers I talked about that you would see. We have hovercrafts, science vessels, search and rescue lifeboats. We also, and each of those has a specific role depending on what the job of the day is. We also have some really cool surveillance aircraft that fly overhead to look for pollution. And I was on one in Iqaluit in Nunavut about a month ago, and went on a flight over the Arctic Ocean just to look if there had been any pollution there. We didn't find any, which we were really happy about, but it really gave me a sense about how pristine and beautiful the country is up there. They also have a fleet of helicopters and a really cool new drone that we're going to be using to look for, to make sure whales on both coasts, but largely on the East Coast, are okay and aren't being tangled up in either lobster nets or getting in the way of ships, and making sure we can slow ships down. So, I think there's lots of things that maybe, I didn't know the Coast Guard did that, that are pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I think that was all the questions that I had, but
Great.
I think there was maybe a friend.
Whoa, Mitchell, check this out.
Oh man, who's that with you? Who's your friend?
Oh, this is our famous Echo.
Nice. Well, good to see you again, Echo.
Yeah, so, you've seen him before.
Yeah, I've met Echo many times. He's always very friendly. And do you mind telling the commissioner what your favorite fish is?
Echo, you got to tell me one more. Hold on, everybody. Echo's going to tell me one more time. Echo is a funny dolphin, you know.
So is his answer a secret?
No, not a secret, but you know what he said? Fish and
Yeah.
chips.
Fish and chips. Oh man, good one.
Right? Who knew a dolphin would eat fish and chips?
Yeah, I don't even know how he picks up the fork, but you know, it's very talented.
He's a talented with those flippers. He is very ambidextrous. He can do it with either flipper. Pretty amazing. And he's been working out.
Yeah.
Echo is a healthy dolphin who eats well and takes care of himself and is always happy to meet with people in all across the country. So he actually, when I talked about I was at the college last week for the graduation, Echo was there and was really fun to be there with him. He is well traveled. I don't know how he gets around to each coast, but he does it. It's amazing.
Hopefully not.
Oh, that's how.
Oh, I was gonna guess first class, but you know,
No, he sticks to traditions. That's why he's in the shape he's in. He can swim very fast.
Oh, yeah, that does make sense. Well, it's lovely to see you again, Echo, and glad to see you're looking so fit. And yeah, we'll see you again next year, I'm sure.
Great. Thanks, Echo.
Right.
Thanks.
Well, before we get to any questions, because we do have a couple classes with us.
Great.
There was a video that you wanted to share, so I will.
Oh yeah, this video. So Mitchell. I described all we do. Now this video, I think, really tells the story really, really well. So I hope you enjoy it. It's pretty quick.
Yeah. So I'll just put this on and bring us off. Well, there you go. Can't say you didn't bring the excitement with that one. Did you manage to see the video okay? Yeah. The class, can you give me a little thumbs up? You saw it? All right, perfect. I think the commissioner's just a little frozen here. We'll give him a second.
Well, I'm not sure, Mitchell. You seem to be a spinning wheel for me.
Oh. Can you guys hear me? A little thumbs up for the classes? Yeah? Okay. Interesting. We'll give him a second. Let his internet catch up here. But yeah, then we'll come to your classes. I see we have Miss Scaloni's class and Mrs. Jugworth's class. So we'll get you guys to ask some questions and yeah, we'll go from there. And any classes joining us, watching from YouTube or anything like that, you can put any questions you have in the comments, and we will get to those as well. So we'll just give them a minute here and hopefully, oh, I can see that. Commissioner Brasso, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I couldn't for a while, but I can hear you great now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you were frozen there for us for a minute. All right. Perfect. Well, that was an exciting video. Can't say you don't know production value when you see it. So there you go. That was great. So I think we will bring some classes up to ask you some questions if you're.
Sounds good. I think I've got a few more minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
I got to go chase Echo, find out where he went.
Yeah, so I think we'll try and do 2 or 3 questions from each of the classes. Sure. So we'll hello, Miss Scaloni's class. How are you guys doing today?
Good. We're just excited that we finally made it at the correct time. Daylight saving time threw us off, but we're here.
There you go. Awesome. Well, if you can pick your 3 best questions and bring them up for the commissioner, that'd be great.
Hadley, you can come up for kind of face
Everybody, why did you decide to work for the Canadian Coast Guard?
Did you hear that? It was why. Okay.
Oh my God.
I think. Do you want me to answer, or do you want me to wait until the other 2 come in?
Oh no, you can do that one. Yeah.
So that question was, why did I decide to join the Canadian Coast Guard? Right. Well, I think I wanted to have a career that was really exciting, that every day was going to be a different day. And I also really like water. I spent a lot of time, I grew up on a lake, on the boats, on rivers, etc. So, and on the West Coast. So I like doing stuff that makes a difference and that I get to spend time on the water.
Thanks. Okay, first, nice and loud.
Do you have to live in a certain spot to be a Coast Guard?
Do you have to live in the same spot or a certain spot to be a Coast Guard?
No, the really cool thing about the Coast Guard is we have offices all over the country, small towns, big cities. You can pretty much live. You can get to choose where you live, all the way from the far north to the big cities.
And one more, Ethan G.
Yeah, have you ever seen a shark while you're doing your job?
Have you ever seen a shark?
I have seen a shark, hammerhead shark. I've seen video of great white sharks in and around Nova Scotia. I didn't see them personally, but for sure, nurse shark, hammerhead shark.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I'm glad everybody's
coming.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. Bye. All right. And then we'll get 3 questions from Mrs. Jungworth's class in BC. Hello. Hi, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we got the time a little mixed up with recess.
No worries. No worries. So we have maybe 3 questions from you guys. Is that okay?
Really? Go ahead.
Where's the hottest place you've ever sailed to?
Where's the hottest place you've ever sailed to? You mean the Coast Guard or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Government of Canada line speed, Mitchell. You might have to translate for me.
Okay. Yeah. The question was, where was the warmest or hottest place that you've ever sailed to?
Oh, well, the really interesting thing, we just got a new boat, a new big ship. Our science ship went from Vancouver to Halifax, but to get from Vancouver to Halifax went through the Panama Canal. So went all the way down the BC coast, American coast, Mexico, and then through Panama, and then back up on the East Coast. So it would be Panama would be the warmest place.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Okay, and okay, Cash.
How long did it take you to become commissioner?
Well, yeah, have a look at me, right? You'll know that it's taken a long time because that's how old I am. But it's generally the case that to be the commissioner of the Coast Guard or the commissioner of another organization, it takes a long time. I started when I was 21, and I'm much older than 21 now. So way more than 30 years to get to where I am today.
Thank you. And who is somebody? Oh, JJ, come. We have a connection to the Coast Guard because the son of our principal last year, he's in the Coast Guard Academy. So we're all excited to see that.
There you go.
Come, JJ, come.
Wow.
What was the farthest place you ever been to?
Oh, that was what's the farthest place you've ever been to?
2 weeks ago, Mrs. Junkworth, I was in Singapore. And I think that's probably, it was a 15 and a half hour flight from Vancouver. That was a long ways away. And I was representing Canada there, meeting with people from the Coast Guards and governments from all over the world. So that's the furthest I've ever gone. And you might have missed it, but I was at the Coast Guard Academy last week, and it was really, really cool. I might have seen your principal's son. I don't know, but it was fun.
He's just would have finished his first year. So
Oh, okay.
just graduated, but that's exciting. Yeah, we've got some places to look up on the map now.
Awesome.
In Singapore.
That's
Okay.
great. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for coming and joining another session. It was very
I
nice.
love Courtney.
Yeah, we do too.
Bye, guys. Have a great day. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all of that with us. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And if you want to learn more about the Canadian Coast Guard or the Adopt-A-Ship program, please visit our website or the Coast Guard's website. And there you'll also find a whole set of learning activities that cover a wide range of Coast Guard activities and relevant skills. So thank you, teachers and students, for another great year of the Adopt-A-Ship program. And thank you, Commissioner Brosseau, for taking time out of your day to meet with us and meet with some students. And we really appreciate you joining us today.
I guess my last comment would just be safe on the water this summer. Wear your life jacket. Be safe.
There
Thank
go.
you, Mitchell.
Words of wisdom. Yeah. Well, we'll see you guys next year, and bye. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.